Hi there, it's your teacher. I'm happy to see you again. It's not face to face as it is usually the case. It's a little different, but of course we have to find a way to study and do our jobs, be it a teacher or as students. So today I have a very short and important video for you. It's an introduction to the unit of sustainable development. So in this video, we'll see what is sustainable development, its definition. Then we'll see why is it important, and we'll see elements and factors that help and contribute in having sustainable development. Please don't leave. Hi again. As I told you, in this video we'll discuss the notion and the term or the idea of sustainable development. The first point is what is sustainable development, what its definition. I'm sure that all of you know what is development. So the word or the term development, I think we all know it. It's a progress, it's advance or advancement. That's quite clear. But here, we're not talking about development, just development. We are talking about a sustainable development. So probably the key here is not development, it's a sustainable. Sustainable means it's continuous, it's ongoing. As a society, what does it mean to have a continuous and sustainable development? That's probably the main question. The most common and the simplest or very simple definition of what is sustainable development is development you get and you reach in the present and also in the future. Why is it important? Because it does not only care about people in the present, but also for the coming generations, for your children in the future. How? That's probably the question. How can we get developed, but not only taking into account in people in the present, but also our children in the future? Governments, scholars, educators, people in general at least agree about three main elements or factors to have sustainable development. Let's have it here. We have some kind of map. So the first one, so we have three elements, one, second, and the last one. Let's start with probably the traditional definition of what is development. It's economic development. Traditionally speaking, when you say development, I think our minds go to economic development. You cannot say I am a developed country if your economy is not strong and powerful. So when you say economic development, that's the first thing that comes to your mind. But is it enough? I think it's no. Economic development is just one factor. You need at least two other factors. They say the second factor is social development or progress. Social development or progress. You would ask me, what is social development? What's the difference between economic and social development? I think that's quite a reasonable question. For economic development, it has to do more with economy, with jobs, with factories, with companies, infrastructure. So we could say it's companies, it's factories, infrastructure is very important. But what about social development? Social development, it's social, it means from society. Here we are talking more about what people care about. It's more about education, healthcare, for example. So it's education, health, care. You cannot say the idea is that I have a good and strong economy. I am economically developed, while your people are, for example, poor. While your educational system, your schools are not good. Or let's say you have a bad educational system. You don't have a good health care. You have just fewer doctors, and you don't have a good health services. So this is the idea. It means along with having economic development, you need a social development and progress. The last item, I think this one is also probably the most important thing to have sustainable development. It's your environment or your natural resources, So people say natural resource or environment is very important in having a developed, in having sustainable development, simply because some countries in the past or even today, they destroy their environment, their natural resources. Why? To have economic development. So they overuse natural resources. They pollute their environment. So if you are abusing or overusing your natural resources and you pollute your environment, you cannot have a sustainable development. Simply because first, you're destroying the environment, your planet, and you don't care about the coming generations. If you are using all natural resources, it means in the future, your kids, the coming generations, will not have enough natural resources because you destroyed everything. You destroyed natural resources, you destroyed forests, and you polluted, for example, the air. You pollute the air and sea and the land. I'm sure that you studied this last year. So you pollute the air, the sea and land, and you abused all the natural resources. And for the purpose of having a good economic development. But at the same time, you didn't care about the coming generations. So these three elements are probably the most important in having sustainable development. Along with economic development, you have to have some social development and equality and justice. And you have to care and preserve your environment so that your country is having sustainable development. This is in brief, an introduction and about what is sustainable development. After this video, you will have some terms, some vocabulary related to this unit. You have to check your dictionary and look it up and look all the words up there, and you do your exercise. See you in the next video. Bye bye.